My name is Evan, and this is Coach's Take. I am extremely excited about my guest today because, as a coach, most coaches remember their coaches. Most coaches and most athletes give credit to their coaches because a coach helps you see the best of yourself and creates a process for you to see that to actuality, right? So what I'm sharing with you is I don't want to steal his thunder, but I've got Bryan Neale here from Blind Zebra. He's the founder and visionary of the sales coaching group who has a coaching system. Earlier and before we launched this podcast, I told him how important it was for his systems to help me advance as a leader. We're going to talk about that. What's important about Bryan is he's staying very close to the game. When I talk about the game, I'm talking about the pro game, NFL. He is a NFL umpire, keynote speaker. He's actually been one of the most influential people in my career, and I owe a lot to Bryan and his team and his process, and he knows we can go back and forth. But we're going to try to get as much as we can in this episode today. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Bryan Neale from Blind Zebra.
Thanks, Coach Triggs, and I appreciate the comments and the sentiment, and I'm too close to your age to be proud of you in a certain way, but I'm super proud of you as a friend. We talked about this, and I talk about starting podcasts and going out on your own and doing what you want to do all the time. And it's amazing how few people take it up. And dude, you're on it and in it, and it's awesome to watch. And people don't know the gift they're going to get from following you and listening to your show and stuff like that. So glad to be here, dude.
Well, it's reciprocal because you've given me gifts, right? And you've showed me how to use my gifts, all right? So here's how the show is going to work, right? So, we're going to go through a little bit about your practice, but we're going to really land on, systems and how we take sales to the next level. And you've got some really interesting, I would say, authentic approaches to how you do this because of your experience. But there's a piece to it that I always ask every guest, okay? And I want you to share and make a take on a coach or a mentor who has poured into you, who has helped shape you, who has built into you, how you've applied that in your practice, and then, and you want to name them by name, okay, how you apply that to your practice and how you pay that forward. Are you willing to give that take today?
1,000%. And I'm going to use the name, if that's cool.
Awesome. Yeah. I've had people, Bryan, that didn't want to leave names, right? I'm like, give a shout out.
Receipts, dude, they love that. Yeah. And you're a coach, I'm a coach. Is there anything that's more fulfilling than having someone shout you out as a coach? It feels so good, doesn't it? It feels like you're giving something to the world that's valuable and stays with people long after you're gone. Not even gone dead, but just don't talk to them anymore.
Yeah.
So you ask this question, and as a lot of you get older in age and you reflect back on these things, plus you have more experiences, so therefore you have more coaches and more influence. So it becomes really difficult to just hone in on one. So you have to pick one. So the one I'm going to pick takes me back to my freshman year of high school football. Football is obviously still a big part of my life. It was my therapy from a lot of stuff that happened to me as a kid, my strained relationship with my dad. So football is where I get lost and just let myself go. And my freshman football coach, his name is Mark Anderson, still alive, still chat with him on Facebook. He taught me more than anybody else what it takes to continue, no matter how long you've done something, how good you are, to continue to achieve at a high level using discipline as your North Star. And the expectation that Coach Anderson had on us was, when you think about it now, like we'd go beat a team. We beat Evansville Wrights my freshman year, 44-7 or 45-7 or something like that. We got, it wasn't even close. I mean, we should have been 100-0. We got in so much trouble from him that Friday after that Thursday night game because of just our lack of discipline, because we were beating him so bad and was joking around and stuff. He ran us till we puked the day after that game. And in your head, you're going, what a jerk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what you realize is he's not playing. We weren't playing against Evansville Wrights. We were playing against us and our potential and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And he was hard on me. I remember walking out to the field one day. He's kind of going after the day after you look at the film and stuff, and we're kind of joking around. We'd won a different game. He said, well, all I can tell you is that the worst player on the field wore number 85 for Castle High School. And I'm looking down, I'm like, I'm 85. I'm like, I don't think I had that. But what I knew what he was doing. He was trying to keep me. And then, you have these memories. But when the stuff hit the fan, when we were playing the best freshman team in Evansville, and there's actually like 3,000 people at a freshman game. We had 2 4th down and 10s. He called my number twice, 2 first downs. That's not about me. That's about him letting me trust in myself. A good coach gives a system and a process and discipline to someone that allows them to trust themselves to be their best. And man, I can't ever thank him enough. And every day, no matter what, if I'm doing sales work, if I'm doing my NFL stuff, that's how I think. I think, how can I create system and structure around me with the other people around me that allow them to be as good as they can possibly be. And that's a gift, man. Mark
No, I love that.
We call him Coach A. Coach A. He's
Coach
the
A.
best. Coach A.
So what was I'm familiar with Evansville Rights because that's like a heated rival, and back then it was 4A. We used to, and their coach now is the Brownsburg coach, which is one of my favorite coaches on the planet. Coach, geez, I can't think of his name, but and I should think of his name because I brought him up in a podcast before. But anyways, long story short, this was important. You're up 44 to whatever.
Yeah.
This is, as a coach, you actually learn your team's character when they're winning versus when they're losing.
Amen.
So
Amen.
That's a character moment, right? We have to acknowledge that, because the minute that we get up, we start to feel full of ourselves. We start to gloat, and then gloating is a big one for me. Start to gloat. Yes. You start to slip into helmets coming off, guys talking, in the crowd. Cut it out, because that's what gets you beat. And that's how you get beat. And that's not how you win. It's how you get beat.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
And that's the true coach, because he's coaching you more than the game. That's the other thing too. He's coaching you about more than the game. And all my coaches have shared with me, Evan, you don't get a lot out of football, right? You don't get a scholarship. You may get money, but it's what you take away. That's the most important piece. Don't forget that. Man.
That's it. It's awesome. Man. And then I love you say that too.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it in the moment. You almost never realize it in the moment. And when you think about what we do in sales teams, same deal. It's just like, it's so interesting to watch, sales guy, gal. We had a salesperson that I talked to yesterday. She got this gigantic contract in this week. And she it's January when we're recording this. She made her year already.
Yeah.
Now the character is going to come out.
There
right?
it is.
Is she going to chill? Is she going to is she going to power down? Is she going to pedal down? Is she going to chase herself? You know what I mean? And you're right, that character definition, you need that when you're down, and it shows when you're up.
Yes. So shout out to Coach A. Shout out to Coach Hart from Rights. He must have took over and took Rights to a new level, because that 44-point deficit is not good.
It was a long time ago, dude.
Shout out to Castle, right?
We'll take it.
And then we're going to talk about this concept, because I'm gonna move us through the next segment. This concept of, okay, now that you made your number, what's next? Now that you've got to your goal, now that you've hit this mountain, what's next? And we're going to get to that, because you helped me in my transition as well. So you're an NFL umpire. You're a sales guru, and I'm saying guru. Listen, I'm saying guru because come on now, because guru's a spiritual coach. Listen, we talk more about spirit. We talk more about spirit than the word. Like when people talk sales, they want to give me a good word, give me a good line.
Yes.
We're on a different level. That's a guru, because it's an internal positioning. When we talk about sales, it's an internal posture, and so you have these disciplines in your core and beliefs that you share with your staff or your clients. But let's walk me through. You're an NFL umpire, excuse me, and you are an empire, by the way.
The NFL's the empire.
You're part of the empire.
What it is.
And then you transitioned to a sales guru, and you're leading Blind Zebra. Give our listeners just a little bit of insight on that, just to kind of get everybody caught up to speed where you're at today.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got 2 things cooking, and even a couple more than that. Like as we the multiple streams of income kind of concept have really hit a lucky stride there after a lot of work. But the NFL thing, you said something that really hit me, and I wasn't planning to talk about this. When I was 19, I wrote down a note card. When I was 19, I started refereeing Little Pee Wee that I wanted to ref the Super Bowl, and I put an age on it. But by the time I'm 51, and a lot of hard work and not enough time to go through all the detail. But the dream came true at age 52. I missed it by a year.
Mm-hmm.
But I got asked a question, and it hit me so hard in a keynote speech. This woman said, "Okay, you worked your goal. That's a great story. What's next?" And I'm standing in front of 300 people on a stage getting paid, and I didn't have an answer. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't know." It's the first time in my life that I didn't know what was next for me. Mm-hmm. And it was a great, great call out. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And we don't think about that. And it's not, you've heard this over and over, and it's so true, that it's the process and the grind to get there. It's not the event. When the Super Bowl was over, the confetti dropped, and I went back to my hotel and packed my stuff and flew home. It was in the TSA line with everybody else, Okie dokie. So Sam, this big sales year, anything like that, you've got to think about what's next. I think that's really, really, really critical to call out. And then on the sales side, for years, I did what I would call traditional sales coaching. I believe, and I stole this line from a sales coach that I admire, local here in Indianapolis, named Tom Searcy, who has a company called Hunt Big Sales. He gave credit to his dad for this, I think. But it's that sales is 90% process and 10% magic. Mm-hmm. You said it earlier. Everyone wants the magic. Like, teach me what to say, show me the hook, show me the line, tell me the question, how do I close it, da-da-da-da. And when I'm learning more than anything else, man, it is almost all process. Yep. And so because of that, now we think, okay, can we just systemize everything and be really good disciplined actors, not actors like fake actors, but action-oriented people that run a system and a process, and the magic will take care of itself if you do that. Yep. The key thing that makes the magic take care of itself at its fundamental, like at its core, you said on the guru comments, is to have a set of codified, I don't know how to say that word, codified guiding principles, which we have in our operating system. We have 10 of those. Yep. And you said it brilliantly. It's an inside thing. It's how my energy and my thought, my philosophy is. Our top 3 are abundance, intent, and detachment. Abundance, detachment, intent, right? I was in a sales call yesterday with the CEO of a really nice big company here in Indianapolis, and we got done, and we're going to set a date. That's what we do. It's our process. And he goes, "I see what you're trying to do with the hook there. Hook me." He said that, and I said, very serious, like he was being funny, but I got real serious. I said, "Hey, I'm telling you, that's not our system, dude. We don't roll that way. There's no trickery. This is for efficiency. And if the date doesn't work, we'll change it." I got kind of serious on him, not to like be parental, but I was like, we don't do that. There's no trickery. There's no gamey. We're working a process. You are, we are. We're going to work through it to a yes or no. That's it. Yep. And you have to have a sense of abundance and detachment and good intention to do that, or it becomes hooky, and you know what I mean, that sort of thing. So,
well, I learned this. I learned this from a coach. He's a coach, but he's also a keynote speaker. And he said this, and this is the one thing that stuck with me. And I love speakers because they drop a line on you that like opens just like, bam. Yeah. Totally. He goes, "People can see your energy 2 seconds before you say a word." Ooh. And it's like, whoa. It's like they catch it. And now they're either confirming or they're trying to rewrite what that energy was as you're speaking. And so, and I feel like for me, and this is my perspective, is, being very charismatic, being very energetic. I was articulate. That sometimes worked against me in a good sales process because they're like, "What is this guy? What is this?" Like it wasn't. It was so good, and I'm not trying to toot my horn, but like sometimes people are like, "No. I've been sold before, Evan. There was another guy that was just as good as you and did these things, and it was bad deal." You see what I'm saying? And so, so for me, it's that those little margins and how you approach things, how you systemize things, how you said I was upfront, honest, and just transparent about it. That's the key, because what did he not tell me? What does he not share with me? I'm afraid to find out something later versus understand it right now. And for me, those are the margins that I sold in, right? Like I knew I could talk, I knew I could do these things, but what was the thing that made me better than these other sales folks, right?
Yes. Do you remember the first time we ever met? Do you remember that at all?
I do.
Yeah, and I think it was I want to say it was at the NCAA speech I gave.
I was invited to one of my sales reps. She was a top salesperson. Her daughter was your intern. Do you remember that?
Oh, that's what it was. Right.
Yeah, yes. I was like, I got a free ticket. I'm going.
Yeah, I'm going. You go. Well, but here's what's funny. So I remember it too. I remember talking to you and her standing there, and again, you get the feeling you've got charismatic, you've big personality, great smile, and start talking. And my first interact, because you're like asking me questions about and my first thought was, this dude doesn't need my help at all. The stuff you were saying, the questions you were asking me, and I'm like, and it was Angie's List, I think at the time. Is that right? Where you were?
And Angie's List.
And and they were kind of blowing up, and I'm like, okay, I know Angie's List, they're blowing up. They don't need a lot of sales help. And then I'm talking to you, I'm like, here's why they don't need sales help. This dude can teach class. Yeah. And then the more I got to know you, that was true, and the opposite was true. That you were authentic and real and extremely coachable and always looking for an edge. And that's why I think we stayed together for so long, to see the world that way.
And I appreciate that. And I always thought, I was like, you know what? If I ever get a chance, I'm bringing in Bryan. He's my guy.
Yes.
He was my guy. And it was actually the group that you had. I knew like 4 people in that group that were like former athletes, right. Guys that had run around with a ball. So it's like, his network is kind of my network. You know what I mean? Like we had people in there that we all knew each other, right? So I like that too, right? You're a very network guy. And so I'm going to typically run into you one way or another, but I was pulling you into my work at some point in time, which is a good transition, because I'm going to share with you, you were the first person that came to mind when I transitioned to a startup, and I was working with Fleet Watcher and our founder, Larry Baker. And this was the difference between an Angie's List and a startup. At Angie's List, we had all the tools, we had a pipeline of good salespeople, we had a pipeline of good prospects, and millions of dollars in marketing. When you go to a startup, it's the absolute opposite. People need to have a real why to come work with you. You don't have a pipeline of anything, and you don't even have a scratchbook of leads, right? It's like, good Lord. So, and that was the skill. So when you talk about being coachable, I didn't come into this new role thinking I knew everything. It was like, we need to get a coach.
Yes.
We need to get a coach. So I'm going to read an excerpt from this book. I'm writing a book. It's not necessarily a framework book. It's my story, because I've got a really good story to tell about athletic sports, my life, and then how to transition to this next level of becoming, which we're going to talk about as well. But let me read it real quick. You haven't heard this, but I got to read it to you. It's the first time you heard this, right?
Can't wait.
I'm going to read it verbatim. Read it verbatim. Okay. When Bryan Neale entered the picture, Bryan, the founder of Blind Zebra, sales coach, we brought in to help our operating system. One of our first meetings together, he said, "Show me the system." I stood up, walked to the whiteboard, started diagramming what I thought was our sales process. He looked at me, he said, "Exactly, that's the problem. You know what to say, you know how to say it, but there's no actual system." Verbatim.
I remember that.
That's how the story went.
Love it. I remember that. I remember it. So funny.
That old room with the dusty whiteboard and the grease markers. You know what I'm talking about.
Hell yes. I rember. Dang.
So tell me about that, right? Give me a reflection of that. I'm reflecting to you. You reflect back to me.
I appreciate it. No, I remember. Yeah, and it's funny because that company was a construction type company, and I go into lots of different companies, and you like get a vibe for the culture. So with that culture, the one was it was like dirty, not dirty like but it was like it's a construction environment,
Yep.
And it was a get stuff done, roll up sleeves, we work around here environment. It was a get app, which I was really drawn to, and there was not one ego in that whole place. Not from the founder, Larry, not from you, not from no one had an ego. Everybody was open to learning and not laying down either. It wasn't like, oh, we're just going to buy this because Bryan's a good dude. It's like, no, let's think through it. It's a lot of money and all that stuff. The other thing, and this happened, there's another friend of ours named JJ that you know. Yeah. And he has a similar story. And it's so funny that I hear these stories back and I don't realize that this is a little like a methodology, the challenger sell. And this is not on purpose. But salespeople have to be real and authentic. And when they see something, they have to say it. And don't be afraid. You can't be there to impress someone and win, in that case, you over. I got to call it like I see it. Like, dude, you got it all up here. It's just not documented. And you can't take a whiteboard and draw it up real quick and have 20 salespeople follow it. No. And that's what I can do and help you with. And had you pulled a book out and showed it to me, and there's 8 steps and it's 50 pages, I'm like, dude, you got it. I mean, I can,
Yeah.
maybe look it over, but you're good. You don't need my help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our friend JJ has a similar thing. I asked him about a story, and I said, and JJ's a pretty confident guy like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, listen to what you just said. Like, that's not a good story. He was like, oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an interesting reflection that I never. It's funny to hear those back. I'm just talking. I'm just like calling it like I see it, kind of like on the football field, which I think is a good little crossover.
That
You know
was,
what I mean? Like,
hold on. That was almost 10 years ago, Brian. That was a
I
long
know.
time ago. We've
I
come a
know.
long way.
Amen. Totally. We have, haven't we? I mean, but we've got great success there. That's a great success story. It's a great exit, great growth. I was great to be a part of it. You drove it, and it's just so awesome to see. And then we're not sitting by. We're on to the next thing. What can we get now? It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that.
So I'm going to pull in. There's this story that you mentioned about the Super Bowl, and then there was a story mentioned about a client that has someone who got a deal. It probably came off from quarter 4, but it hit in quarter 1, and now she's way ahead of the game. I don't know how deals happen before the first week of January, but they came from a previous quarter for sure.
They did for sure.
But I had this thing, and we did this in our cohort, and it was this 5-year plan, 5-year thinking, and so it was serendipitous because what happened is when I joined the startup with Larry, it was, hey, we're gonna grow this business, we're gonna create enterprise value, and we're gonna exit. That was the plan from the beginning. It wasn't a secret.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew there was an ending, or what the next phase was going to be uncertain because we don't know, if the next next person that buys us is going to keep the team. Is it going to be the same culture? Am I going to have the same role? So we knew at the end of the sale, it was uncertainty. What's interesting though is I knew exactly what I needed to do at that point. Get the business up there so we could sell it. Man, it hit me like a brick, Brian. Right at about the 6-month mark before it was almost done, dude, I couldn't sleep. I was lost. I was lost. When I'm lost, man, I woke up like I'm lost. It's like I'm in the wilderness. Like what? And I called you. Remember I said, Brian, you got to help me, man. Like what the heck is going on here, man? You remember that?
100%.
Right? And I'm very appreciative of our engagement. A couple things and this is why this all makes sense to me. We had Blind Zebra as part of our group as a sales coach operating system platform, and all of our leaders were part of your cohorts. All our leaders were up under your team going through that process. We never stood up a marketing group, but we grabbed Mojo Up Marketing. Shout out to Travis Brown. We had Travis Brown's team as our CMO group. And then I had an internal group that did RevOps, social media and stuff like that. And then we had, for us to actually sell the business, we had to bring on a real CFO. So we had a fractional CFO to help us create the enterprise structure for the actual acquisition. So I'm sitting here, W-2, big old W-2, sitting here big like, all right, what's going on? But I share this story because I said to you, it's like, tell me what are you doing? Like, how do you do this? And you gave me some insight, and you can paraphrase it, but share like that moment where we were talking through next steps, next phases. Like, how do you recreate the goal? How do you reinvent the process to get out of the dark into the light, recreate the goal to get going? Can you share some insight as I'm sharing that with you?
Yes, I love this question. And I'm actually going to have a meeting right after this with the woman who's in a similar spot in life. It's like, I want to be a personal trainer. I want to be a baker. She comes from like IT security for 15 years. Her husband's a security, and I love helping people think through this. So if I remember, I might paraphrase a little bit, but when I tell people this, you got to get off the fence with some sort of date-based aiming point. You can't say, well, I'm going to figure it out. Wait, it's like, no, you got to say a thing like, my goal is by March 31st, I want to have my direction documented, or by April, 30th, I want to have it narrowed down to 3 choices. Either get a job, stay in the business, or buy a Dairy Queen, whatever the things are.
Yep.
Those aren't deadlines. Those are aiming points. That's where people get a little squirrely. Like, well, I don't know if I'll be able to. They do all these I don't knows. I'm like, nobody knows. And you're telling me you're staying up till 2 in the morning not knowing. And so let's just not know a little less. So pick a date. that's your
Yep.
aiming point, you can always move it. Then you have your everybody has a different name for this. Dan Sullivan calls it unique ability. I call it the love, hate, suck, rock graph.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I love to do, and what do I rock at, and then what do I suck at, and what do I hate? Don't do anything in the suck hate box.
Yeah.
And you got, I rock at some things, but I don't really love them, and then I love some things and I suck at them. So you try to get in that upper right quadrant, and then and this is what I love what you did. And if anyone's listening, I don't care what you do. A lot of you are salespeople. What you do so well, Coach, is you act. You take action, even if and you're not afraid to fail in the action. You can't be afraid to fail in the action. You move forward and take action. I got people that have been talking about becoming sales X, for 5 years. I talked to you, whatever it was, less than a year ago, and you're already one. I talked to people that started podcasts for 15 years. You start a podcast. Every salesperson has a podcast. I know, I've been thinking about it. You just did it. Action wins. It just does. And now look, and I had this dorky quote: when you commit, the world will commit around you. When you commit, the world will commit around you. That's what's happened, right? You did the sales X thing. What'd you get? A freaking client, right? It's like, and had you not done that, you would, would that have happened? So, those are some things that I think people can really take away. That date, specificity, and action wins. Action toward the thing without fear of failure, as best as your soul can muster up.
So I did exactly that. So what I did was set a timeline. Remember I said I'm gonna give it 6 months. I had a time, I had a date, but at the same time, I took a piece from what we talked about. You always share this, and you have a personal business plan that I've always used for my teams. And I was adamant about it, and it was work, but we always used it. One of the most insightful things in a business plan, it talks about your behaviors, it talks about your metrics, it talks about your goals, it talks about I love this one, your theme, right? I used to kick ass, that was my theme. We have fun with it, right? But here's the thing that meant the most as I'm transitioning is this list of connectors. Like, if anybody's listening, do you have a list of connectors? Like Bryan, you pushed that on us, and I always kept people, texting. And so when it was time for me to start getting to the market and start thinking, man, I had people that want to meet with me. I had people that were like, come on. I started meeting with people very easily. And then I was like, whoa, I started getting insight. So I was doing my data collection. I was gathering insight on how all this works. And I'm also very coachable. Like, if somebody tells me, hey, listen, that's what you need to do, I'll try it. Right? And I'm working with a client that's afraid to fail. So I said, no. Failing is what we do to get better. You got to fail first. Let's fail now. Let's just go. Don't think about it. Just go ahead and start failing. Start now. But man, I'm going to share with you, that was the piece that I drew from a lot of stuff that we do. Is like, man, those connectors, like, man, where they at? Got to call on them. I need
good. And so for listeners, what Evan's talking about, just people that know people that can, there's a way and you feed the network. You don't just get from it all the time. You feed it too, so it's very balanced. But here's where people miss that. You said it. Do you have a list of connectors? And I'm going to go a step further. Do you have a list of connectors written down by name on a document or in your phone? We have 20 slots in the business plan. And when I do this drill and I teach people the first time, you may have had this experience. I go, okay, write down 20 connectors. You can think of like 3. I can't think. And then as the time goes on, and then it's happening right now. Unfortunately, there's a big layoff at the place you used to work with yesterday. Public now, a bunch of people. And everyone's now all of a sudden put stuff on LinkedIn. Hey, my network, if I'm looking for another job. Well, you should have been stoking your network the whole time, so it's not weird now. Now it feels like, I haven't talked to you in 5 years, and now you need some help. And I'm not trying to diss people that need help, but, it sure makes it better if we've been in constant communication through the time. It's a thing. That's great, man. Really
take it one step further for this, because we got leaders listening. We always talked about a virtual bench, and I use this language all the time. And I work with companies that are putting out their first quotas, that have got their first goals, that are really going to get their stuff together. And the exercise is this person that's never had a goal, never had a quota, is making money hand over fist. We're changing things up. They may not like it, so they're holding you hostage. So we have to be able to start the recruiting process, because you can't afford to have people. It's called a revolt. They revolt. That's what it is. It's like, and it happens, right? And so we talked about this virtual bench because all the sales leaders that are listening to this, you need to be out, and you can explain this a little bit better, Bryan, because I'm just going to set it up. You need to be out talking to people that may not make the move today. They may
Yes.
not make the move tomorrow, but when you reach out to them, it's not the first time you've heard from you. And you're sharing them little bits and pieces about what's valuable in your situation and how you're helping, people go. And then you can bring value to them. Like you're a sales leader. Like you have
Yes.
value that you can add to people that they're not ready to
Yes.
leave their company for. So
Yes.
this virtual bench and this connecting piece, you put them together,
Yeah.
right?
So good. So good.
And I'm
The
regurgitating what you taught me, right?
No, I love it. You're exactly as I would teach it, which again makes you happy as a coach. Like, okay, yeah, someone was paying attention in class. That's good. Makes you feel good. At least one. No, that the old way that people. So you get someone that leaves your team, or you exit them out. Either one. Now you've got a hole in the team. What do? If you're big enough, you go to the recruiting department and say, hey, I got an opening for a salesperson. If you're not, you've got to do all that yourself. Job posting on LinkedIn, job posting on Indeed, and what do you attract when you do that? You attract people who don't have jobs, who are typically not high performers.
Yep.
When you do what you're talking about, Triggs, and what we teach is, I'm going to go, my virtual bench are people that have jobs, that are really good at their job, that aren't looking. And I'm creating proximity. I'm going to be nearby because they may not be looking now, but they might be looking later. And I've got to have action-oriented interactions with them. So we have a virtual bench of 20, and we try to have connections with those people at least twice per year. That could be a breakfast, a coffee, a beer, whatever it is. It could even be just a phone call. And so they're just nearby. So if their situation changes, it does. Or if mine does. And how flattering is it? We just tell people. We had a call yesterday. I told Steph, like, make sure he knows he's on a virtual bench. It's flattering. People are like, hey, man, if anything changes. We had another person. We said, hey, you're on a virtual bench. If anything changes, she's like, I'm super happy where I'm at, but I'm flattered. Thanks. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, she may not be super happy next year. Something may change, right?
Yeah.
And boy, sales leaders would do themselves a huge, huge benefit if they implemented this virtual bench and the action around it versus waiting until the holes open up and trying to get the dog with the least fleas,
Yeah, and so Bryan, your dialogue just sparked something. I'm gonna just share a success story here as to wrap that piece up. So, my virtual bench were guys who were high-level sales guys because I needed an enterprise salesperson, not just an account executive, like an enterprise. Like you need to go in and meet with business teams, and you're talking high-level. We're talking six-figure types of deals we're trying to do. So I was looking for guys that were high-level. Well, most of those folks and they're in that role already. They're either in the room to be promoted or even a higher level sales than just enterprise, right? So like a national type of deal. Well, I've had people who are on my virtual bench get promoted to manager. And they go, Triggs, man, can we go to lunch, man? Listen, I'm not getting the tools as a manager that I need. And so one of the gratifying pieces to do that, and this is for the leaders that are listening, is now you got a connection of people who now you can impart wisdom, as we talked about Coach A, as we talked about all these different things. You can start to impart wisdom to help folks beyond, that's the give, right? Beyond just, hey, I need you. Now now the shoe's on the other foot. Man, I could use some insight, right? And so I've had that happen a few times, and literally got a text message saying, hey man, like, when can we go to lunch, man? I need some Triggs, man. I need some Triggs.
Need some Triggs, right?
Funny.
It's awesome. They do, though. They do. They need it. I love it. Yes. And it's paying it forward. It's karmic. It's karmic boomerang. It'll come back when it comes back. It's never, we don't keep score on it. We're not tit for tat. And I just told our sales team yesterday, and I'm going to do this. So I've got this until 10, and I got a meeting internal 10:30. From 10:30 to 11:30, I got a break. I'm going to go to this restaurant that I go to, Cafe Patachu, here in Indianapolis, kind of a buzzy place. And I'm just going to go to breakfast by myself. And why am I doing that? Not to be alone, because I want to give myself a chance to run into somebody randomly.
Yep.
That's, you know what I mean? 100%. And if you're out and about and you're meeting, I need some Triggs, and then all of a sudden you're meeting with that person, someone else walks up, you got to give yourself a chance to get lucky in the world. That's great.
Yep. Love it. Love it. Well, I'm not going to hold you up, but I wanted to, just appreciate you dropping some wisdom on this call. We can do this. You and I can sit and do this for days, right? And we need to, because I feel like I need some Bryan Neale in my life, right?
I love some Triggs too. I'm not gonna lie.
And with our busy schedules, you almost have to make time to make time. You almost have to make time to say, hey, spend time with your people. And so those are the connections. And here's the thing about the 20, on that list of 20, because I got 20.
Yeah.
there are 3 people or 4, pick 3 or 4 that you go way deep with, right? Because
Yeah.
you can't get
Yeah.
way deep with 20.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I go way deep with you, Brian. If I can ever do
Yeah.
anything, if I can ever spend more time or do more things out of gratitude, like as
Yeah.
out of pay it forward, right? I need to do that. You're one of those people that I got to get deeper with. And so we should all be thinking about who we got to continue to message, to
Yes.
bug, to try to make time to spend time with to keep
Yes.
those relationships valuable. That's how I
It's
feel
awesome,
about you.
dude. You're the best, man. You're the best.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Trigisms. Trigsisms. I love them. Love it.
Well,
Need
well,
them.
hey, folks, we've kept you here a little bit longer than we expected. Bryan Neale, look him up on LinkedIn. He's got amazing content. He's got this big building on College Avenue that says keep, close, and give me the
Grow
last one.
and retain.
Grow.
Keep, yep.
Keep,
Yep.
close, and
Keep good.
grow your
Yeah,
business,
keep
man.
close and grow.
And I've spent a lot of time in those rooms shaping and building my practice, and Bryan is available for anyone that's interested in having those discussions. Bryan,
You.
my man, I'm going to sign off, man. You got any words of wisdom before I let everybody go?
You're the best, dude. If you're listening to this, do what Trig says. I'm just telling you, just do what Trig says. It's not hard. Just do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate y'all. I'm
Appreciate you.
signing off on Coach's Take.